Hey, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to crack open the hood on the modern car, but we're not really looking for an engine, we're looking for code. We are here to break down the key terms you need to know in the super complex world of automotive software.
But before we really get going, I have a question for you. Just think about your car for a second. How many lines of code do you think it actually takes to run everything? From the brakes to the infotainment screen. Go ahead, take a guess.
So, what's the answer? It's over 100 million. To put that in perspective, that is way more than a fighter jet, way more than the Large Hadron Collider. It's just a mind boggling amount of complexity. And today, our job is to make sense of all of it. Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start with the car's digital brain. Then we'll jump into the software that's making driving safer. From there, we'll talk about how cars connect to the world around them. Then we'll look at the rules that make it all play nicely together. And finally, we'll get a peek into the software-defined future.
All right, first up, the car's digital brain. See, to really get how this whole system works, we have to start with the foundational building blocks, these tiny little computers that are hidden all throughout your vehicle. At the very heart of all this is something called the ECU, which stands for Electronic Control Unit. The easiest way to think about an ECU, it's just a mini computer that has one and only one very specific job to do. So why are these little guys such a big deal? Well, because a modern car is absolutely packed with them. I mean, we're talking dozens, sometimes over 100 in a single vehicle. You've got an ECU for the engine, another one for your anti-lock brakes, one for the airbags, heck, even one for your power windows. When you put them all together, they basically form the car's electronic nervous system. But this complex system does a lot more than just, roll your windows down. It's now being used to actively watch the road and help you out, making driving a whole lot safer. And this whole evolution is driven by something called ADAS, or Advanced Driver Assistance Systems. You should think of ADAS as the big umbrella term that covers all those smart safety features that are pretty much becoming standard in all new cars. And ADAS is so much more than just a simple warning beep. This is the software that enables incredible features like adaptive cruise control, where your car automatically keeps a safe distance from the one in front of it, or lane keeping assist that gently nudges you back if you start to drift. And what's really crucial here is that these systems, they're the foundational building blocks for a future of fully autonomous, self-driving cars. Okay, so our car now has a digital brain and some pretty advanced safety features. What's the next logical step? Well, it's moving beyond being this isolated machine and becoming a connected device that talks to the entire world around it. And this is all made possible by a really cool technology called V2X, which stands for Vehicle to Everything. And just like the name says, it lets a car communicate wirelessly with, well, pretty much everything. We're talking other cars, traffic lights, and even pedestrians carrying smartphones. The potential here is absolutely huge. Just imagine your car getting a warning about a crash up ahead around a blind corner from a car that's already there. Or picture cities managing traffic perfectly because every single car is communicating its location and speed. This creates a giant real-time data network that makes our roads smarter and a whole lot safer for everyone. So let's think about this. You've got hundreds of ECUs, you've got complex ADAS features, and you have V2X communication all happening at the same time. How on earth do you make sure it all works together without a hitch? Well, you need a common language, a standardized set of rules. And that common language is called AUTOSAR. Now I know it's a bit of a mouthful, but the idea behind it is actually pretty simple. Just think of AUTOSAR as the car's main operating system. It's kind of like Windows for your PC or iOS for your iPhone, but it was built specifically so that all those different computers in your car can talk to each other reliably. So let's look at how this all stacks up. At the very bottom, you have the physical hardware, all those ECUs we talked about. Then, sitting in the middle, you have AUTOSAR, that standardized operating system. And what that middle layer does is allow car makers to build their applications, the features you actually see and use, on top, knowing that the foundation underneath is solid and dependable.
All right, so all of these pieces we've talked about, the ECUs, the safety systems, the connectivity, the standards, they're all building towards one massive thing, a complete transformation of what a car even is. So, welcome to the software-defined future. This slide really captures the huge shift that's happening. In a traditional car, its features and capabilities were pretty much set in stone by the physical hardware the day it rolled off the assembly line. But the software-defined vehicle, that's a totally different beast. It's a dynamic platform where its features can be updated and even improved through software long after you've driven it home. And the key that unlocks all of this is something called OTA, or over-the-air updates. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's the same way your smartphone gets a software update overnight while you're sleeping. Your car can now get major upgrades and new features wirelessly without you ever having to step foot in a dealership.
I mean, just think about what this means. Your car can literally get better while it's parked in your driveway. Urgent security fixes can be sent out to millions of vehicles in an instant. This also opens up this whole new world for automakers to offer new features and services on demand, which totally changes the old idea of car ownership. You could see things like subscriptions for heated seats or special performance modes, all turned on with a software update.
And that brings us to our final thought for today. As a car becomes more defined by its 100 million lines of code than by its steel and rubber, it really forces us to ask a pretty fundamental question. At what point do we stop driving a vehicle and start operating a really powerful computer on wheels? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.